Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So in today's video, I want to be talking about the powers in the Life is Strange games and how they may have come into existence. Because as we know, so far we don't know where the powers came from or how they came into existence. We know how Max and Sean got their powers. It was through a traumatic experience watching someone they love die. We don't know much about Tristan yet and how he got his powers, but hopefully that'll be explained in issue 7, which is out in a week, I think, 7 days, the 24th, I believe. I have to check the date again just to be sure. Anyway, let's get started. Now, will be referencing other games in this, and I want you people to let me know what you believe is right. Like, do you believe with my theories about how these powers came into existence or not? And just leave your thoughts and leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section because I love hearing your comments, and I'll always and most of the time I'll get back to you, if not all the time. So, anyways, let's get started. Now, my first theory about how powers exist in the Life is Strange universe is an idea that comes from the game known as Infamous. Now, in Infamous, there are these people called conduits, and there's this rare gene in a person. It's called the conduit gene. Basically, what this is, it conduits are human beings with a rare mutation inside them. Like, I guess you could say like X-Men, the mutant gene. But the difference here is the conduit gene, it's dormant. It doesn't activate powers. What you need to activate powers is a ray sphere blast, basically, and that's basically how the main character Cole McGrath gets his powers. His spoiler alert if you haven't played the game, his future self travels back in time to give his past self powers to prepare him to fight a monster called the Beast, who's basically wiped out most of the population. But we find out in the second game the Beast isn't trying to kill population, it's trying to save it. But like, you can play the games to figure that out, or you can look it up. Now, what happens here, the abilities can be activated by collecting and absorbing what's called ambient energy present in the surrounding area. Now, like, it has been retconned in a sense. In the first two games, it was a ray sphere blast that, well, in the first game, that's how Cole gets his powers. It's a ray sphere blast. In the second game, we find out, like, um, chick named Nyx, she got her powers from a ray sphere blast when a guy, Bertrand, used it as well. He wanted to be like some type of conduit god, basically, but he ended up turning into this like freaky bug monster, or as Cole put it, a 50-foot maggot, basically. And Nyx was one of the people that was being sacrificed to whose life energy was going to be ripped out of her essentially and used to go into him. Basically, he had all these sacrifices so the ray sphere blast would absorb all the people's energy and go into him. And he did get his powers, and Nyx got powers as well. And there was this other woman who had powers called Lucy Quo, and she was experimented on using ray sphere technology, and she ended up getting ice powers essentially. But in Infamous Second Son, this is kind of retcon because the main character, Delson Rowe, he played by Troy Baker, I believe, he ends up getting his powers by touching a conduit's arm, and he absorbs their powers. And through the game, you meet two other characters, and you absorb their powers as well. I think one of them's called Jean, I think, and I forget what the other girl's name is. And then at the end of you have to get the powers of the final boss lady, which is rock powers or earth powers, just whatever it is. Now, it's not entirely impossible that there could be a hidden gene in a person's body making them hiding dormant powers, because I don't think this will ever be explained, and that's what this video is here for. to try and find an explanation about how powers came to be, and whether or not it will be confirmed by the developers. Because let's face it, they're not going to confirm it, so we just have to come up with our own conclusions here. And another reason could be a cosmic event. Maybe a person or like an alien life decided to bestow powers onto people, and like just like think of it like a watcher basically. You know, in the Marvel comics, how you got the Watchers, and they watch the different Earths. Maybe like maybe Life is Strange has its own type of Watcher, and they decided to give a person powers, and they watch over them to see what they do with the powers, and whether or not there will be a good influence on the world or not. Which would I could see that happening. That would be pretty interesting, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's no way, in every Life is Strange game, someone's gonna successfully keep their powers hidden. Someone's gonna end up having their powers exposed in public, and then this is probably gonna kick off the next game later, where you get powers and like the government will try to hunt you down, and you have to run and hide from them, basically. Like, I guess you could say that could be what Daniel and Sean are doing right now, but the police and that are incompetent. They have no proof whatsoever. I mean, if they did, if they had a shred of intelligence, they would have looked at the cop car security footage and seeing how it flipped over, and then they would have been like, oh yeah, Sean Diaz could not flip a car over and send a person flying. He's innocent. But like, I can understand them wanting to arrest him to get some questions answered, basically. Okay, so moving on. The next game I want to talk about with powers that could potentially be another reason why powers exist in Life is Strange is a game called Prototype. Now, in this game, you play as a guy named Alex Mercer, and this virus has been released upon the city of Manhattan, known as the Blacklight virus. But in the second game, it's called the Mercer Virus, which is named after the main character, Alex Mercer, who released it on the city. You see, he was a scientist, and he was working with a small group of other scientists, which he was the leader of. They were trying to use the blacklight strain to make a cure, basically, to help cure diseases such as cancer. But the government wanted to use this strain. I don't know the full details exactly. I've looked back and had a bit of a read, but essentially the government wanted to use this as a weapon, because the virus is actually based off a previous strain called what was it called? The red light virus. That's it. But unlike the red light virus, the black light virus is more deadly and spreads a lot faster. So essentially, like what happens is, they have success with the strain, and they can use it to help cure people. But the government wants to use it as a biological weapon, basically. And so some higher up people, they want Alex Mercer and his team purged, basically. If you don't know what I mean by that, killed off. That's what it means, basically. So when Alex finds about this, he, which is understandable, fears for his life. Um, and he made sure to have an insurance package with him in case he was ever caught. What I mean by that is he smuggled a vial of the blacklight virus with him. He'd stolen it from a lab, so that way, if life was ever threatened, he could use it to threaten to release it on the city, which ultimately he does. Now, what happens here is Alex is cornered at a station, Peen or Penn Station, I forget what it is, by Blackwatch agents who are trying to kill him. And it's at this point he knows he's gonna die. He's angry and frustrated, like that he's gonna be killed off. That all his hard work is for nothing. So he throws the vial on the ground and smashes it. And when he does that, he's released the strain's gone out, and he's released it. And then he gets the Blackwall, the not Blackwall, sorry, the Blackwatch operatives just gun him down. And when he dies, he falls into the virus sample. and becomes infected as he died, as he dies essentially. And what happened was, while this was happening, they thought they killed him. Alex's body was beginning to reconstruct itself cell by cell, and the virus replicated cells and missing tissue that the bullets had done to him. Now, when he wakes up, which is the beginning of the game, he has no idea what is going on, and that's like the whole point of the game. You have to get your memories back, basically. And when you do, you realize it's like, oh, okay, he's the bad guy. Now, the thing about this virus is not many people can get these powers, and if they do, they're basically the same. There's shape-shifting, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman agility, superhuman endurance. Why am I saying superhuman? There's like super senses, basically. And anyways, like, that's what I want to talk about this. Is it possible that the government created a virus in in order to have a, like a, in order to have a weapon against other countries? Because look at it this way: Max, Tristan, and Sean, okay, they have their when they get their powers, they are all in America basically. And like, I know like Sean and Daniel, they're part Puerto Rican, but yeah, they were born. I'm pretty sure both of them were born in America. So, and even Sean mentions this when Hank's got him tied up. He's like, he goes to Hank, "I'm American, asshole," and then Hank kicks him in the face, making his nose bleed. So yeah, so far as we've seen, the people who are getting powers are all Americans. Like, I guess you could still have people getting powers in America, but you could have them as a different nationality. You know what I mean? Anyways, could it be a virus? It is a definite possibility that it could be a virus. And I want to move on to my next theory, which actually I want to go back to Infamous real quick. Okay, so spoilers for the end of Infamous 1. Now, at the end, when you beat the main villain named Kessler, you find out in the end that the reason he did all this was to prepare Cole to fight against the Beast. It turns out that Kessler is actually Cole, but from the future, and he traveled back in time to accelerate the creation of the ray sphere to give his past self powers earlier on in history. So because Kessler, the original Cole McGrath, basically got his powers a few years after the Beast did. But in the main game, Kessler made sure that Cole got his powers first before the Beast, so that he could be ready to fight him. Because the Beast was basically wiping out all life on Earth, but that's actually kind of retconned in the second one, because the Beast is actually trying to save people by activating the conduit gene in them, turning them into conduits to cure them of the plague. Spoiler alert. Now, this could be possible because Max does have the power to rewind time, so I bet if she kept practicing, she could master her time abilities and basically, what do you call it? End up jumping to any reality she wanted and not having to join her consciousness to her body. She could just be like she could have a version of herself in that history while she still exists in that history with her own body. Another theory could be that it could be like the whole reason Max and Sean and Tristan have powers is that something big might be coming to the Life is Strange universe, and whoever or whatever gave these people their powers is so to prepare them for some big fight. And I think that'd be pretty cool, going like a Marvel Cinematic Universe thing. We explore on each of these characters, and then they come together in one game because they have to fight a certain type of evil. That would be pretty cool. Like, but that's really all the theories I have right here. I know it's not really that good, but I mean, if because it we're not we're oh, let's face it, 100% chance we're never gonna find out where powers come from or how they happened. But like that's also both good and bad because some people may like take Star Wars for example. In the original trilogy, the Force was some mystic, like life force basically, and then in the first prequel movie, it was just explained what the Force was, and essentially it's microscopic bacteria in your bloodstream. That's what the Force is. And that made a lot of people unhappy to have the Force like to have the Force this energy that connects all living life basically to and well you not all living life but, well the Force is around the galaxy and that but you know what I mean. Anyways, that's the end of my theory video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and my next video up will be a walkthrough of Assassin's Creed. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie signing off.